So project management skills are very important for us, right? As a company, as you, as an individual. That's why we're doing this. Okay, so our issues, we look at some of the issues we have. I mean, and for the last, we've been around, say, 8, 9 years, we probably have right now 30 over clients, projects, and so on. And not all of them are successful, right? You know, we have cases where the client are very happy with us, and there is cases where the client very unhappy with us. And some of them, when we want to get references from Microsoft, they even refuse to let us even refer to them. So that means we have screwed up the project, right? So hopefully by having the training here, we want to make sure that these instances of project failures has been reduced. I mean, there are always going to be risks of failures, right? But we believe that if you follow certain discipline and practices, the risk of project failures is going to be very reduced. In fact, not only we stop the failures, but we create a more positive impact to the client. Okay, so that is very important. So we need to change this thing around, because if we have the best way of growing the business is growing the client. Because it's very difficult to work with a new client. You have to go into tender, you have to propose, you have to lobby, you have to meet them or whatever, right? So once you already have them as a client, you want to grow with them. We want them to give you phase 2, phase 3, and the project, right? But after the first project, if the experience is bad, then that's it, they kick you out, and that's it. You don't want to deal with it anymore, right? So it is very important to make sure that if you do a good job, it will grow the project, it will grow the company. Okay. So that gives you some context why I think this is critical to make sure that we execute better, right? Now, what is so special about the way we run projects compared to others? But this is the FGV slide, but so we change it a bit, talk about the focus about us as people who actually deliver stuff to our client, right? So this project management PMA is centers talk about a particular way of running projects. Okay, you know there are so many things, certification out there, you know, PIP and all the stuff. We're going to talk about that a bit, okay? But there are a lot of people who has this kind of certification, but they still cannot run projects. Okay, because they understand the theory, they know the flow, they still does not know how to apply on the daily basis. Let me give you an example. Right, when you have projects, right, not all projects start when you're in the planning phase. When you start, I mean, in the planning, and then you go into design, into testing, that. Sometimes the project already in trouble. They say, okay, Shah, please go and run the project, right? So you can join the project at any time, right? No? Doesn't necessarily a planning stage. Sometimes you move to the design stage, sometimes you go to the build stage, sometimes you testing stage. The project is supposed to finish, tak habis, still problem, cannot close. We have a few cases of that. Some people ask you to come in and rescue the project. So you may come and join that project at any time, right? No? But it doesn't matter at what stage the project is. The quality, the kind of things you need to do at any stage remains the same. You still have to manage your client expectation. You still have to communicate. You still have to manage your team. You still have to run meetings, right? You still have to, manage your scope. So those things you still have to deal with that irrespective of project it is. And that is what I want to get you guys to master that skill. So it doesn't matter what the people put you during the planning stage, they will put you in the design stage, whether you have to come in at testing stage, doesn't matter. You're supposed to come in, you're supposed to go and start to take charge and make sure the project is back on track. That is what we expect for our guys. Understand? So that PMA is for that. Right? It's about making sure you understand what are the things that you need to know, irrespective of where you are in the project. Only about 27% project fail because of technical reason. For example, software doesn't work, your server crash or it's something to do with technical. But the rest of it is because of some business reason. For example, maybe the business case is wrong, the strategy is wrong, or 53% because of poor project management. Can you see that how important the project management is. Client always, that you go into a project, you always gonna expect client difficult client, right? They might not give you time and so on, right? And the other thing is they expect a lot because somehow they call you consultant. That means they think that you know better than them, right? And sometimes a client will not give you time and so on because they think that their discussion is not, they don't feel like either the project is important enough, which is an issue, or some of the reasons they just want to avoid you. For us, we always blame the client. That's the easiest. Never our fault, right? It's always easy to blame the client. It's always easy to blame the system or everything else except ourselves.
Just now.
Right? So what I want to do, we need to start taking charge. We don't blame people. If something goes wrong, say what we need to do differently. Right? Why the client doesn't want to see us? Why can we manage this better? Right? Okay, take charge. As a project manager, you want to take charge. Right? Isn't it? If you got something to do, very important information, don't you want to put aside somebody that will take care of the problem? Rather than say, hey, actually, you don't know like this problem, that problem, that's not the attitude you want. Take charge. Take responsibility and make, even though it's not your problem, your fault, you make it as though it is your problem. That is the kind of quality you want. And sometimes the client appreciate it, even though the client say that it's not doing, but we take care of the problem as though that it is our fault. Then they realize that they are dealing with the rights. They are not dealing with somebody who always my fault or play tai chi and say, oh, it's not my fault, it's always your fault, it's somebody else's fault, my friend's fault, whoever fault, except me. We don't want to do that. So there's a change in terms of attitude as well as needed here. How about the successful project? PKL is considered a successful project. Because of that, we got the work from IPM. After that, we have the work, we get the tips and so on, and a lot of reference from KL. AIF is not really a project because we just go implement software there. So AIF is a bit lucky. AIF and KPT is a bit lucky because we have a very strong client. We implement a system, there's no PMO services, nothing, right? And they manage to pick up the solution and then apply it and make it work, right? So I would say that it's very rare for us to have things like that. We have high-tech. We implemented it, but I don't think they really use it. Are they using it?
Yes.
Yeah, probably not to the extent that we want and so on, right? Some of the projects that are in trouble, actually one of the characteristics, they don't even use EPMO. Right? They say they are using EPMO, but you know they are not even using it because there's still a lot of stuff going everywhere using emails, a lot, right? Okay, why are we doing this? Okay, this is the client's slide. Okay, so we have a issue. A lot of us, maybe some of you, may become project managers, but you have never been trained as one. Right? So you just kind of learn from asking, or so PMA is supposed to give you that quick knowledge. At least you know what the basic essence is. And then people who get certification still cannot run projects. They understand the theory, but you cannot apply. Right? And then you have problem, miscommunication with the project team. And then you have issue like people come and join the project, the client, our company, depending where they come from, and they start to do things their way. Right? You go to this project, you got this guy, like Shah running this project, Shah will do it his way. Then you go in Nasir's project, Nasir do it his way. Then everybody go pening. Right? So, right, we got project. So that is something we want to standardize it now. So in the future, it doesn't matter whether you go into FGV, whether you go to Tamu Haji, whether you go to everywhere, same way. Okay. I'll talk about this one here. This is adopted from the Shell HSC Culture Arts and Mind program. Have you heard of the aircraft carrier? The aircraft carrier, the US aircraft carrier. US Enterprise, or you know they have a ship where the jet planes land and take off. They put it in the Atlantic Ocean. Normally during the Gulf War, they will have this aircraft carrier sit next to the Gulf region, and all the aircraft. They can put like 20 fighter jets on it, and that they just land and take off from that in middle of the ocean, right? We call it aircraft carrier. Right? Have you heard a lot of accidents or not about this? Can you imagine some of these carriers they carry nuclear weapons, and then they got planes with bombs flying in and off, on and off. Have you heard any major accident like one of the Enterprise, US Enterprise, sink or anything like that? No, right? Because this thing is so big that if there is that accident, they will make the major world news already. But you have not heard. Why? Why the place so safe? I mean, there are about 5,000 people live in the ship for the whole year. But why hardly any accident?
Run by experts.
Pardon?
Run by experts.
Yeah, they have experts in that. But what they say is because they have such a strong safety culture. Safety is in their culture. Because that it is in a culture, everybody will do everything they can to make sure the place is safe. So let's say it's your who has the young baby here, 3-4 years old, right? Let's say they come into this room. How would you treat that person? Even if something else, it's not even your children, like some girl, little girl, 3-4 year old coming into this room. How will you treat that girl? So how will you treat her? If you come in here, you come put her. Huh? You go say, hey, go and get out. What? Hey, say you're cute, apa ni or something like that, right? You probably have baby talk her, I mean, you treat that nicely, even though she's in the wrong place. Why are you doing that? Because naturally, in our culture like that. Right? It's not because I tell you to say it, right? If there is a baby, 3 years old, come to them, please say nice thing to her. No, right? You just do it naturally. It's in our culture. It's the Eastern culture. So that is the same thing with project management. Project management excellence, right? We want to be at the best. It has to be in your culture, right? We say that using EPMO to run projects has to be in the culture. Because if it's not in culture, then you feel forced to do it. Alamak, jalan ni semua pakai, okay lah, buat something. But you don't believe in it. You say, hey, why? I said, don't send attachment. Load into your shared folder, send a link. Don't do it. But malas lah. You want PowerPoint? I got nada PowerPoint. Alright. So we want to make sure our company has what we call effective project management. Here, number 5, generative. That means it's the top, right? That means really in terms of 1 is the worst, 5 the best. Okay, what is number 1? Pathological means it's about you only do something because you're afraid somebody will notice you. For example, you pergi traffic light, this lampu merah, tengok tak ada orang, okay, then go in. Right? That is number 1. Same like in project management context, you're running a project, nobody is asking you, somehow dari number insist me to use EPMO lah. Okay lah, tak payah pakai sell lah. Right? You see? I mean, it's not you doing something because of you're afraid somebody will notice it. Then rather than you believe you want to do it. Number 2 is you're reacting. You only do something because okay, project update coming, internal audit is coming. Okay, let's tidy up our documentation. Make sure that all the project deliverables loaded into the library and so on. Okay, because of you are just reacting. So this is what I call reactive. Number 3, we have the project methodology in place. So we say, okay, we as a company we should be fine because we have EPMO system. We have PMA training. So we should be fine. Number 4 is at least there are somebody in the company who's concerned about it and keep reminding you. Maybe Chicken, maybe me, maybe we keep on saying, hey, we need to use EPMO, we need to be better, we need to do this. Okay, but I mean, not everybody believes in it, but some people do believe and keep pushing. Right? That is proactive. Number 5 is generative. That means that is how we do things around here. Using EPMO, nobody have to say anything. When you run a project, you go and set up right away. Nobody have to tell you why you're doing it because you believe this is a good thing for you. It's part of your DNA. Right? How you manage risk management, how you make sure you keep track of your issues, how you do this stuff is in you. Right? You understand? So for us to be successful as a company, for you to be successful as a project manager, whatever things that you're gonna learn today eventually has to be part of your habits and part of your culture, part of your DNA. Okay, otherwise, it becomes, yes, I know that you have to do scope management, yeah, okay, but you never really believe in it, right? You're supposed to conduct meeting this way, but you don't apply it because you say, okay, but that's fine, but I do something else, I don't believe in it. Okay, so you know that just now somebody asked question about the project management flow. Okay, so project management flow describe general methodology how you're supposed to manage a project. Okay, that means the project typically start from initiation, planning, design, build, test, those things all stuff, right? Okay, so that is what we call it project management life cycle, project methodology, and so on. Okay, and in the world today, these are the what we call it organization that govern certain things. For example, PMBOK is established by the US PMI Institute, Project Management Institute. Okay, so they define the sequence on how projects should be managed. Okay, Prince is more like European based. So Prince 2 they define. People use different terminology, but essentially it's the same thing, right? So for example, like PMBOK talk about initiation, Prince 2 talk about some of the terms to refer to initiation. You understand? Okay. So these are what we call accepted standards available out there. So normally when you go to a project, the client will ask you to say, okay, we follow PMBOK, or they say that we follow Prince 2. Okay. So you need to, ideally you need to have. In fact, our standard material had a quite detailed discussion on all the different methodology, right? So at least you understand when they say, I want to follow PMBOK, okay, then you know like, okay, they're talking about 10 knowledge area, they're going to be scope management in there, they're going to be this, going to be this. When they talk about Prince 2, then they're talking about a different way of calling these terms. So one of the things that I would like all you to do is to get PMBOK certification. Even though we think that it is a lot of crap, but I think it's because the client normally appreciate when you have that. So we have, okay, the issue with this PMBOK, normally there has certain requirement. I think most of you already qualified because you have to do projects for at least 5 years, project management experience, and then you need to have a degree. If you don't have a degree, then they ask you for longer experience, or something like that, right? So PMA does not talk about system development flow. You learn that by studying PMBOK. You learn that by studying Prince 2. You understand? Or if you do Scrum, talking about for software development, they teach you how to do project execution using Scrum techniques. Okay, that is, so PMA is not going to teach you about those things. That's why we are not competing with PMBOK, right? We are not here to create another methodology. Even as a company, we are not here to create another methodology. Like IBM, we have their own methodology, Accenture has its own, EY has its own. Those companies have their own methodology. That means we have different way of calling certain things. You understand? The good thing about understanding PMBOK, because you go into client when they talk about some of the PMBOK terms, you know what you're talking about, and then you can relate to them. They talk about project charter. So if you don't study PMBOK, you don't understand what you're talking about. They're talking about project management plan. You know, these are PMBOK definitions. Okay? You know what's the difference between Scrum and the SDLC? We call it waterfall. See, typical waterfall, we do planning, we do design, we do test, we do right. So by the time you want to get the system, you probably have to wait 5 months. Right? You have to go through all this thing, right? Scrum doesn't do that. Scrum, you basically release by team teachers. Let's say you work on the schedule management component of your role. So you work on that, you test it, then you go live. Then next, you work on, say, financial management portion of it. You work on it, then you deploy it. That means the business get to use the capability of the system much sooner. Okay, PMIs is, of course, in Belgium, they refer to PMIs. PMIs is the PMBOK term for project management system. So ePMO is, as far as PMBOK is concerned, is a PMIS, project management system. why dPMO is so important. The other thing, because we are the only company in this planet probably who actually believe in using the tool like this to run projects. And for that reason why we do project like tips. Because essentially run the whole tips program manually for 2 years. And then we go to Petronas, we say we have our system, we can do this differently. And because of that, we get a project. PKL, which is another big project, same thing. Right? They have done everything manually. We say that we have this tool, they like our tool. So this is because nobody else, even big companies, are using tools to manage projects. We're probably the only one that is doing that. So if you don't do it this way, there is no difference between you and another company out there who run projects. Really, there's no difference. If you don't use dPMO, you cannot distinguish yourself. So how do you justify to say that, yeah, I don't work as long as those guys? Because they want to efficient work. Most more manual, of course they have to stay 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because everything is done manually. But we have a tool that allow you to be more efficient. So you can go home early, this client still get what they want, right? Because of you are using the right technology. You understand or not why dPMO is so important? Because it really makes your life easy when you run projects. If you believe in it, if you use the tool properly. Otherwise, it's become a problem for you. First, you're doing it because you've been forced to because of some checking, jalani checking, whatever checking you've been doing it. But you don't believe in it, you do your other stuff manually. So first you are struggling because you do manual stuff. The other thing, you have to update this thing every 1 month because somebody is probably going to check. So you got worse problem. You are doing it manually, and then you have to maintain another system which is probably update. Okay, so you can see that in the IT project, let me give you an example. So there are about 152 of these. Can you imagine if it's bought in your local drive? Some people have this, some people have that, some people have that everywhere. Can you imagine how nightmarish it is when auditors or whoever ask for that? Right? So in case of PKL, everything is in the system. But if you now that I'm telling you this, in the future when you become project manager, please make sure those things doesn't happen again. Right? That means make sure that when you start a project, the project planning, everything for a project in one place. Because it's really gonna save you, and it also gonna make you like a very bloody good project manager. Okay, this is PMI tool that is not new, right? There are a lot out there, sometimes free. Okay, so for people who are selling dPMO, so what's so special about it, our dPMO compared to projectmanager.com and some of this free stuff that you get from the internet? Right? Because you see, Microsoft project, if you Microsoft project, you cannot really, it's just like, it's very plain like that, right? You cannot really do much with it. You just use it as it is. Right? You cannot put your corporate presence in there, you cannot really modify a lot of stuff in there. So the good thing about dPMO is this, you allow you to kind of flexible for you to customize it, to make it fit way of organization run the projects. Okay? If you run a school project, maybe you can use some of the software. It's for one project, it's very simple task, and just very straightforward. But for the client, typically there are always something unique about the way they manage the project. Right? And that is where dPMO are able to, you can make the changes. You can customize it. And why, you know, what is the world's most popular project management tool in the world? Excel. Why? Why Excel? Excel is a spreadsheet. How come it get that type of recognition as the most used project management tool?
Because flexible. They
Why?
can create their own table.
Yeah, because it's flexible. You want to color, shade, you put the color, you shape the cell and you get the bar like that. You get flexible, right? So, and then you create column, you can do whatever you want. Flexible. But you cannot do a lot of analysis in it because it may look nice on that, but there's no repository behind it. So in PMO, you can be almost as flexible as Excel because you can define column, you can change settings and do all the stuff, right? But you have the repository where you can do the analysis. And the other thing, a lot of these tools, they only support one project only. They cannot support like you got a program multiple projects. They cannot do that. Okay, it's just one project, standalone project. Okay, whereas we can have 3 projects, 1 to 3. Then we can have consolidated view for all of the stuff. Okay, so because of so you have to make sure that that's why sometimes the EPMO you have to use it. You have to, if it's difficult, you have to figure out how to make it easy. How to make it easier to make sure the menu is on whatever information you want there. You put on the menu. Sometimes you can create what I call a launch pad to make it a bit more. There's a metaphor on how you can access information, right? So spend time thinking how to make it because it's customizable, right? So how to make it presentable, how to make it wow, how to make it impactful to the project. The other thing, use it as a workbench. I mean, you want to use EPMO as a place where you go and get as a project, right? You want to go and get anything, you go into EPMO, you get your schedule, you get your status report, you get your documents, you get everything there. Right? You don't have to go and search for things. Okay, schedule management. I want to go through very quickly. Maybe later on you can continue and discuss some of the stuff. Right? So for schedule management, our problem is people using Excel to track project. Don't use Excel to track project. Okay? The rest you can read. The essence of it, no Excel. So if you are working for ECOs, everything is workers a project, synchronized with EPMO, that is where you share the project with. Do you want to show examples or not? Okay, alright, this is the one this side, right? Yeah. Okay, let's go to this one. Okay. Open a new tab. So everything in one place. So all projects should be like this. You don't have to. Anybody don't have to tell you to do it. You should just have one. Okay. So there's a lot of good stuff. You can wow your client if you use EPMO well, right? If you don't use it, then again you don't have anything to distribute you and the other company. Because all of them use Excel. All of them use email to communicate. All right. So the original was developed using Microsoft Project. You synchronize to EPMO, you give the link to your client so they can see the project schedule anytime. Okay? This is how we do schedule management, our way. Okay? And there's a health check. Okay, go to tabungan again. Tabungan. Okay. Oh, this one. Go health check. You create this one. Yeah, see, then this project schedule just now you can analyze it to see where are your delays, where the delays are. Okay, so this is how we run projects. This is how we manage schedule. Okay, this is what happens when you don't do your scope management properly. See, right? You're taking more than what you can chew. You see, when we sell a project, sometimes we go for EPMO project, so very cheap. Standard EPMO, right? Of course, 2 months. The price not expensive because it's meant to be done within that price and within that period. Then Scarlett asks to say, hey, modify this, modify that, modify this. And you say, yeah, okay, small okay. That's why you end up like this. Right? So sometimes I find it a bit strange. The project is supposed to implement EPMO standard. Then I go to APP complain, hey, my team busy, this guy doing this support, this project, that project. Huh? Apa dia orang buat? Why they doing programming? This project is supposed to be standard EPMO implementation. So then you know what happened, right? For the project, customize the thing.
Because we are too flexible.
Because we flexible, project management.
Not the system is flexible.
Project management, basically back to project management, right? We have ourselves to blame. We don't know, we so afraid to say no to the client, we say yes, everything to them. Let me pay the price. Right? Project is supposed to be for 2 months, end up 6 months. And when it's 6 months, you don't make profit anymore. So okay, okay, let's talk about the management scope, right? Always document. So sometimes, okay, you can do minor stuff, but make sure you document everything. If you want to do a favor, then very straightforward, just changing the color from red to blue. Okay, like mine, we do it. 5 minutes job. But still, log it, right? Is make sure it is written, and if it's too much, or this case is not important for the client, you say, okay, Mr. Client, our scope is supposed to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you're asking us to do 6. We don't have the results to actually do 6. Okay, if you want to do 6, maybe we need to drop item 2 or item 3. Ask them to report which feature that you want to drop. And the other thing is, the never say you cannot have it. You can say, okay, we have to manage this first, but we can always do your thing in phase 2. Because the users never like to say, I cannot do it. If sometimes you want to be nice to your client, you do this, you do that, right? And then because that, your project is delayed. You know what? Your project is delayed, but do they have a lot of sympathy for you or not? To say, right? They don't remember that you have this scope, that additional scope. As far as you're concerned, you are failed project manager because your project is delayed. That's why scope management is very important because it allows you to deliver project on time. Right? People have no sympathy when you delay a project. Even though you say, oh, because you asked me for this dashboard, that dashboard, I have given you everything. But as far as you're concerned, you are the project manager and your project is late. You think that you're doing them a favor, but actually you're causing them. You're causing this favor to yourself and to him. So if you have problem, okay, you cannot deal with the client. Talk to your other colleagues. You say, okay, maybe you can talk to them, right? Escalate the issue. Make sure that you can communicate better or something, right? Don't just simply yes, no. We tend to be nice, we always say nice. Say yes because we want to take care of his feeling. We want to be nice, to be seen as we are good, always responsive to the client, but you pay a big price for it. So, scope management is, so you need to start with the project understanding exactly what's your scope, right? You need to know.
Yeah.
If you do EPMO, you need to know, are we implementing standard EPMO, or are we doing some changes to it? And what kind of changes are you making? Is it just a dashboard change, or you're introducing workflow, you introduce new form, you come up with the new logic, all the stuff. It has a lot of application. So you need to understand exactly what you're supposed to do, right? And if there's some enhancement, what is it that enhancement is going to do? Even I also don't know everything. Sometimes I have to leverage on certain things. Even technology, whatever. I have to get, okay, sometimes I have to get some chicken, sometimes I get people like Horasi to come in because he can articulate certain things better. Then I use him. Right? We are not expert in everything. But that's why you need to use a skill to see what help you can get from people to help you. Issue management. This is another very, very important thing. What makes a project fail? User don't have enough time. Project director, whatever, right? I see problems are because if you do not have an issue, there's no reason for a project doesn't go live as planned. Right? Right? The reason why you cannot make it happen on time because there are some issues that are not resolved, and that because of that issue are not resolved, it leads to you and having to spend more money. It's a bit to project delayed. It leads to RBG and his deepening color. It leads to also other things. And at the end of the day, we fail to deliver, and the client say that we are not good. So it's very important to make sure that if any problem, always capture the issues and discuss it. Understand how to resolve it. Sometimes there's a lot of issues in our head. It's Samsung's head. Everywhere there's some issues everywhere, but nobody is kind of writing it down. So if you are running project in the future, right? If you only have to worry about one thing, let's say you really don't have to do anything else, then I would say that you just focus on issue management. Right? So at any time, if somebody asks you what are the project issues, you should be able to say these are the top 5 issues, this is it. Okay, and have a plan how to resolve it. And then sometimes issue last minute surprises. You only know about it, you only escalate it a week before go live, a week before it's supposed to get signed off or something. Then suddenly you talk about it. Then, of course, either your client or your project director will say, hey, why only, kenapa sekarang baru raise this issue? Kenapa tak raise this thing 2 months ago? Why now you're telling me that it cannot be done? Why now you want to debate the scope? You understand? That means there is bad issue management. Okay? So by the time you go into the project success meeting, you no longer talk about the issue, You say like, oh, I got this issue, please help me. You say, we got the issue and we have resolved it. We just want to update you. Lain. As opposed to you, project manager, oh, here I want to talk about all these 20 issues that I'm struggling. As opposed to, you know what, we have these 10 issues this week and we have resolved 5, we have and this is where we are right now. Okay? You take charge of it. Okay, the other thing about issue management is floating around blind spot. What is a blind spot? Blind spot is like sometimes you say you tell her and but I still think you are a loser. Right? Or you think the project is great. You think that project is great, but actually the project has a lot of problems. But you don't know about it. Understand? That means you have a blind spot. Right? You know, like the blind spot you use in the car, right? In the mirror, right? There's a car next to you, but you don't see it. That means there's a blind spot. I mean, there's a danger there, but you don't see the danger because it's not within your viewing zone. Same thing in the project. There are some issues you don't know. Or maybe it's already there, or it's already there, but your team is not telling you. Right? They think they can resolve it. So you as a project manager don't know. Then when come to UAT, doesn't work. So how to address a blind spot? You cannot just sit there dekat your cubicle and do your thing. You have to talk around, walk to the corridor, talk to your client, ask them, are they okay, talk to your team members. Encourage people to speak up, don't worry. Because sometimes people have a lot of issues, they feel guilty. Say, project, no, you should, that is okay. You can have 1 million issues, fine, let's talk about it. Do you like a project manager, you tell them a problem that doesn't resolve anything, or project manager that every time you talk, you share it, they only help you resolve problem? Which one you prefer? You want something to help you solve problem, right? Isn't it? And that is what client expects as well, right? If you are there, just report status meeting, oh, my project delayed by 7 months, rate here, and okay, we delay here, delay there. Right? No, people want to know, okay, we got this problem, that people expect you to resolve it. You don't really have to be PMP certified to do that. Right? Your job, if you want to add value, you solve people's problem. You go to the team say, I got this problem, I might design that, okay, you sit down with them, okay, maybe you should try this, you should try that. You solve the problem. Then next one. Okay, I got some data quality issue, how about you give them some idea to do it, they resolve it. That's where you add value. And as project manager in ECOs, one of our trade as our project manager, we solve problem. We are not postman, chasing people for their update. Because you can generate that from the system. So what's the difference between risk and issue? It's about timing, right? Issue is if there is a fire in this room today. Is that an issue or risk? It's an issue, right? Problem. What is a risk? There is a possibility that there is a fire in the kitchen. It's a risk, right? But is it a high probability or low probability risk? Maybe low. So risk is always about what can potentially go wrong. So it doesn't happen yet, but it may go wrong. It may go bad. It may become an issue. But then the issue is always about the probability of that occurring and how big is the impact. Right or not? If you don't do a good job in risk management, what will happen? I mean, you're going to have a lot of issues. Right? The risk of this, there's going to be a fire in this office. There will always be that risk, right? Maybe it's a low risk. So you cannot say it will never ever happen, 0%. You cannot say that. It will always be there. But maybe low is risk, low risk. So we say one way to mitigate that risk, make sure you don't cook anything in the kitchen. But it could be some short circuit happen in the kitchen. Then they may lead to fire. But the fact that we actually doesn't allow anybody cooking that reduces the risk, right? So risk management, if the more you spend on risk management, the chances or you have less issue is more. So ideally, you at the project, you always talk about risk, but that is not the reality. Our project manager don't even talk about issues, let alone talk about risk. So I hope you, future project manager, always think about risk. Every week, sit down. Okay, what can go wrong when it comes to design channel? What can go wrong in UAT? What can go wrong in terms of the, always talk about what can go wrong. Okay, and then what are we going to do to mitigate that? So if you do all this stuff, we're not going to have a delay project. We're not going to have a big project, because some of the stuff we talk about is so basic, right? Is it rocket science? Is it rocket science or not? What we talked about today, this morning. Might put your project schedule in Microsoft Project and then you load it into API and you do your dashboard. With what else we talked about? Make sure that scope management, make sure you be clear on the scope, all those stuff. It's not asking to build a rocket to fly to Pluto or anything, right? It's common sense, isn't it? Okay, there's connection, right? Risk, action, issues. You don't manage risk, become an issue. Okay, all the risk mitigation action, you need to have an action tracker. And issues, you need to have an action tracker. So action is another thing important. That's why we like discussion today. Sometimes we go into a meeting, we discuss. After that, nobody's who is tracking what to do. Nobody. So one of the things that we need to do is to actually manage all this stuff and make sure there's always an action. You need to make sure your action tracker. Whoever is supposed to do what, keep track and you follow up. That's another thing good about a good project manager. You follow up. Meeting management, right, is why is so important. How so? Because you do meetings all the time in the project, right? Okay. So your ability to conduct a good meeting will reflect on you, whether or not you are in a way good project manager or not. Okay. So this is, even though sounds basic, very important, because sometimes you go to a meeting, it's just like you go to an open house, you go there, go and talk, probably eat, blah blah, and then you leave the meeting. Let's go like no structure, not organized, not in control. Because the way people see whether or not you are a good project manager or not, because people will see how you conduct yourself in the project, how you run the meetings, how you communicate. These are the things that what the client see. Okay, so this is very, very important. Okay, so ideally you have this scenario, right? The project manager is also the subject matter expert, right?
That we will lucky.
Right? But you don't always do that. For example, like doing Tabung Haji, I've never done a banking project before, right? You never do that, right? So, but if you run, but you tell the client you are not the banking expert, but we run project management process as well, so they understand that. Of course, along the way, when you go into the industry, you start to pick up their knowledge. Then they will respect you more. They say, hey guys, within just few weeks, you talk better than us. You as though you know the whole industry. Then you get even more mileage, right? So you don't have to pretend to be an expert. Okay, so it will help. If you have, as I said, having a knowledge will help, because at least you can speak certain language that you can resonate with. But you don't have to have the starting point where you're expert in everything. If you just run the processes, what messages, making sure there is a process that discuss risk, there's a process that discuss project issues, there's a meeting is structured, there is always an action item, there's always a follow-up. You don't need to be a technical expert, you don't have to be a Bob J expert. Those are very basic things. Whether you run SAP project, you run Bob J project, you run Oracle project, you have to do all this stuff. Okay, so what we're focusing about the project management discipline, irrespective of whatever project you're doing. Either you're doing construction, either you're doing software development, are you doing whatever, doesn't matter, right? The technique that we talk about today applies to all. One of the things that we would like to be known for as a company is that we don't waste people's time. Alright, so we want to go into a meeting, as you know, very common, the client runs meeting 3 4 hours. Because as you know that when you are responsible running a meeting, you have a captive audience, and people have to attend that and they have to listen to you. Just imagine that you don't do it effectively. You are not showing respect for people's time. Right? So having a short meeting is good because we respect that they got other things to do. Right? And we try to make sure that the meeting is run as efficient as possible. So whoever from us running a meeting in the future is very structured, very organized, very short. Okay. So how to have a short meeting? One, you set the set objective agenda. You set time expectation, just like what you mentioned just now. Appoint the timekeeper, so you make sure every topic is set allocate time. Provide the testers before the meeting itself. For example, like project schedule, performance, right? Give the information before the meeting, so people already know what are the tasks behind schedule. Okay, don't give that thing for the first time. Then they have to understand, hey, which project is problem and so give the information earlier, right? Before the meeting. Don't discuss new issues. You know why? And this can, because all of a sudden somebody come in and they say, hey, by the way, I got this new issue. First, he will spend 5 minutes to explain the issue. Then 10 minutes for people to ask him, trying to ask him questions about what his issue is all about. And then you spend another 10-20 minutes on discussing the issue. You will spend half an hour on one issue. So if somebody brought up 3, 4, 5 new issues, that's basically like why your meeting is very long. Okay? So you want to make sure that issue is captured up front. You have some idea what the issue is all about. In fact, as a project manager, when you go into the meeting, you already say, okay guys, we have this issue, and I got 3 options how to resolve it. Option 1, option 2, option 3, option 1, I recommend option 3. Alright? So you already, you already manage it in such a way that all the facts is there, and you have a certain point of view on how to resolve it. One of the problems we have in the meeting is when you present the status, somebody question the status. Somebody say, no, my project is not ready. And I have this experience when we doing UITF during the big meeting with all the senior people. When we present, one of the VC, deputy VC, said, sorry, that is not our status. Our project is green. What you report is red, is wrong. What happens when you have that? So what we want to do is, we want to make sure that before you present any project status on behalf of your team or your other project, you show them first before the meeting to say, okay guys, this is the status of the project. If you disagree with this thing, please let me know why. Right? Because you do not want him or her to contest in the meeting itself during the actual day. Right? Because sometimes if you don't do that, you show the status, the project is late, according to your report, and they feel very embarrassed because the boss is there. And then they start to, 2 things. One, they start to question you, and the second thing is they may feel like you step on his back. So always give a sneak preview. So for example, if you got a meeting, set a meeting here, a day, 4 days before, you give the health check and draft agenda. That give people some time to fix it. Then you give another version after they make the changes. Right? So you allow enough input from them so that by the time you have the meeting, there's no more dispute on the status. Then of course, after the meeting, you should debrief and consolidate your session and follow up immediately. It's only about a few things here that if you can really do it, you can already be a project manager. For example, as I said, if you just focus on issue management, really focus on it, talk about it, follow up all the stuff, that is already like a big thing already. You understand? If you know how to do it, manage your project schedule, you know how to publish it, you can how to share it, that's already. So you just do one thing well, you're already one step away. You do another thing well, you almost there, right? So if you do 4 or 5 things that we talked about today, then you can already run any project already. Right? What is your style, right, of project management? Because it's the style that makes you be known for, right? Are you being known as people who like to drag meetings, or some people very structured in running meetings? Are you known to be somebody that is really, passionate about digital project management using dPMA, or somebody who like to use Excel and email way of doing things? Right? So you cannot lie those stuff. People observe how you do things, and they form opinion on you. Right? Those are the stuff. If you do it well, as what we share with you today, you will look good.